real
Yes.
quick?
Yeah, sure.
On forbearance, that's a material fact, right?
Yes.
So we need to find out from the seller if they're in forbearance. And that
Absolutely.
needs to be disclosed.
Absolutely. Okay. Why does foreclosure happen? Pretty simple. Generally non-payment of loans due to your loss of job, loss of income, failure of someone's business, a family tragedy. A lot of times you do see foreclosures happen out of somebody's estate when somebody passes away. They don't have a life insurance policy or something like that to enable their family to pay that outstanding mortgage. And the spouse doesn't have a job, doesn't have a nest egg. That's basically the only option. You'll see a lot of those through estates. You'll see some tax foreclosures. Those happen as well. Those are a little less frequent because, I mean, if you're getting foreclosed on, and it's a tax foreclosure, you're generally going to own your property free and clear because the lender is going to make sure you have your tax paid. They're just going to force pay your taxes and then charge you on the back end, and then foreclose on you themselves. You also see market crashes. They're leading to lower home prices. Those hopefully do not happen anytime soon. I like things the way they are. I like them to continue to climb, and I continue to believe that real estate is and the numbers bear out, that real estate is a very solid investment with continued steady growth. But I mean, obviously there is a little bit of a roller coaster effect to it, as 2008 to 2010 showed us. Estate foreclosures, that has to do with those family tragedies. Those happen when somebody doesn't have the funds to pay for a deceased spouse who's passed away, and then expiration of forbearance. Again, we're going to see a lot of these coming up. It's a bummer, but it's going to happen. Moving to the next slide. All right, so a quick rundown of the foreclosure process. It's really exciting, so I'm going to spend a lot of time. No, I'm just kidding. The foreclosure process. First off, you miss a couple payments, you're going to get hit with a 45-day demand letter saying you're late on your loans, you're late on your payments, pay it, get it caught up, or we're going to begin foreclosure proceedings. Now, when you you have to have the time and ability to repay. So they give you that 45-day notice so you can start that process of saying how am I going to get my loan current. Then there are foreclosure hearings, typically at least two, because you kind of get a freebie at the beginning. They have to report the sale, have to set a notice, an upset bid period, closing on property. This is more of an overview of how those things work. So getting to the hearing. So someone gets in the hearing, there's a borrower and a representative for the trustee. The clerk is looking for 4 things to grant foreclosure. So if you are working with a seller that is in foreclosure, you can say, hey, look at X statute. These are the 4 things they're going to look for. And I don't personally think that's legal advice. That is pointing out what it says in the statute. So basically, is there a valid debt? So do you owe money to the lender? Generally, that's going to be a no-brainer. Is there a valid default? Are you late on your payments? Again, if you haven't made your payments, that's pretty much a no-brainer. Does the mortgage have a power of sale clause? So if you're dealing with seller financing, or someone drew this stuff up on their own or something like that, or worked with an attorney who maybe doesn't do a lot of real estate law, they might have done just a really basic mortgage without a power of sale clause. That's an important clause in there, and should be able to be identified. And if they say, yeah, I had something drawn up with my Uncle Johnny or something like that, and then he died, and his son's a real jerk, and we didn't have anything official, but he's trying to foreclose on me, I would make sure you take that to an attorney and say, hey, does that have a power of sale clause in there? Y'all probably won't be able to identify that, but a good real estate attorney can. So make sure that if there is a situation with private financing, that you address that. And then, have all necessary parties been properly noticed? Have you received the notice from the sheriff, or have you been served by mail? Has to be certified, everything like that. So if those things happen, then the county or the substitute trustee can begin those foreclosure process. There's typically one free continuance, so that's generally to give somebody the opportunity to extend the period by which they can work on doing something like listing their house. A lot of folks will come in and say, yeah, the bank sent me a letter, I can't make my payment, my hearing's on July 10th. Ask them, is this your first hearing? Make sure that this is your first hearing. Because if it is, they'll be able to go in there, and I mean, even if they don't have an attorney, just ask them, hey, I need a free, tell them to ask for a free continuance. Say, you should be able to get one free extension of your court date. Go in there and say, I'm trying to sell my house. They should be willing to give an extension of the court date. After that, anything else must be good cause. So if you walk into that second court date, generally going to be about 30 to 45 days later, you don't have a signed contract, they're going to start those foreclosure processes. If you have a signed contract, they'll probably give you a little more time. So if there's a contract if you're under contract on a property, they're probably going to give you time to make sure to see that contract out. So make sure if you have somebody that you're working with who's in foreclosure, that they're working with a good, solid buyer. No buyer, if you have any questions about the buyer, if you have a lot of different options on your offers, which I know a lot of you do and will, given the market, then pick one that you know is super solid. Because even if it's not the highest offer, I mean, pick one that you know is solid. Because if you get that continuance because you're under contract and then that falls through, you're probably not getting another one. Then soon after that, so after that, if you can't get that, if you get that past that continuance, they grant the sale, then a sale date will be set. Usually that's going to be about 20 to 30 days after that, and then that sale process starts. So, what is the foreclosure sale? It is a judicial sale that is generally posted at the courthouse. It is sold for properties generally sold on the courthouse steps by auction. It is subject to upset bids, which is a 5% increase. That property is sold as is, warts and all outstanding agreements with that property are wiped clean. I'll talk a little more about how these things work here in a bit. So, how do you find foreclosure properties? About 4 ways that I've identified that work. Number one, the courthouse posting board. So if you walk into the courthouse, the one I'm most familiar with is Cabarrus, but I know where Rowan's is as well. So if you're in Cabarrus County, you walk into that front entrance, you kind of go around, you go through the gate, or you go through the metal detector, kind of walk around, kind of make a U-turn, it's right up against the wall. You'll see a big posting with every day of that current month. And every day is going to have any sheriff sales that are out, any foreclosure sales that are upcoming. They also have things like estate sales and any other sorts of judicial sales that have to be noticed. But the most frequent you're going to see are foreclosure sales.
Are they letting people in? Is that right?
They are, yeah. They're letting people in. I believe that you have to make an appointment in order to actually go back in the file room and look at the files. But I do think just to go in the courthouse, I don't believe you need an appointment right now. I know they pulled back on that a little bit when they had their COVID scare about a month ago. And they were making people get appointments to go in. I think that's passed.